This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
PlayStation Pop Experience, Pop Goes to the Couch, continues on with our coverage of Loki. We're up to episode number 3 of season 1, Lamentis. I think that's how it's pronounced. Hey, I'm Andy Atherton. Welcome to the show. Let me get the crew in here and we'll start breaking down the episode right away. Back from his sojourn, we don't know where he was. Hopefully he wasn't on Lamentis 1. Shawn Kidd. What's up, Shawn?
Hey, good evening, Andy. I am back from chasing down my variant that doesn't give shit takes because I don't want my reputation to get ruined. I have taken care of that mission, and I am back tonight.
All right. Great to have you back. Also with us is Scott Shifflett. Hey, Scott.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to board the flight to get off of Lamentis, so hopefully I can survive.
Good luck.
Hopefully it doesn't blow up before you get there. And rounding out our crew, as usual, is Tim Capel. How you doing, Tim?
Hey guys, really glad to have Shawn Prime back with us this week. I was really afraid. Cards on the table here. It was looking for a while there like we would have to press his variant into service in his absence. And this, mind you, is Shawn Kidd from 1992. So we would have had to interrupt his date with Ms. Crosland in order to get him on the panel, but we did promise to return him exactly in the spot where we plucked him from in time, or the quote nearest convenient parallel dimension.
Yeah, and he happens to have a co-ed naked lacrosse shirt on with the hat backwards right
there
now.
You go.
I'm guessing that's what he's wearing, even though we're not on video, but I just have a feeling that's what he's wearing. All right, so guys, this is the halfway point there in episode 3. This is, like I said, called Lamentis. It starts off at a bar. The variant-style Sylvie and C20 are drinking margaritas. Sylvie isn't impressed, but C20 says that the drinks seem fine. Sylvie talks about brain freeze, freezing someone's memories in place, and C20 takes the challenge. She takes a drink from her ice-cold margarita and then doesn't remember when Sylvie asks her how many people are guarding the timekeepers. C20 suddenly realizes that now is the time. It's now nighttime instead of daytime, and Sylvie tells her that they're best friends and asks C20 again how many people are guarding the timekeepers. C20 starts to answer, but then remembers the bar and doesn't know Sylvie. Sylvie tells C20 that she's probably just tired. In the real world, in the superstore security room, Sylvia enchants C20's mind with an illusion, and Sylvie asks how she finds the elevator leading to the timekeepers. As C20 describes it, Sylvie sees a TVA squad approaching on the monitors. So, we get a flashback here, and we kind of see how Sylvie's been using her powers. Shawn, what do you think of the opening to this episode?
I liked it. Nice cold open. Goes back to the last episode. I wasn't on, and you guys did a great job on that one. But I was not a fan of the last episode. But I liked this cold open. I like how they went back and you found out how Sylvie found out where the timekeepers might be, and how what's her name? The soldier. What's her name?
C20.
Yeah, C20. I like how C20, didn't actually say it, but she was coerced into it. And I liked the whole open. I thought it was really, really cool and gave you kind of a snapshot of Sylvie's powers. So, yeah, I liked it. Good cold open.
All right. Scott, what are your thoughts?
I agree. And with the big revelation that I think that we find out later in the episode, it's I thought this was like Sylvie was just creating this, but finding out this was in C20's head makes it that much more stranger. So it's very interesting and a nice little callback that we didn't really know about, because I just thought she was just projecting it. So that was very good.
All right. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Well, I thought that those margaritas or whatever they were drinking looked pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I was pretty down with that. But yeah, this is a cool reveal of something we didn't even necessarily know was a mystery. These agents of the TVA have been presented to us as more or less ageless or perhaps extremely old. But here we see that they had lives before coming into the TVA, and lives that look not dissimilar from our own.
Yeah.
So it sort of begs the question, if she was a human brought into this organization, Is that the case for all of them? Do they get their memories wiped? Do they? And I think that it's sort of, in a way, a little bit contradicted later in this episode, or maybe in an earlier episode, where it just makes it seem like that all of these agents have been at it for a long time. I mean, I know time is a very relative concept when you're talking about the TVA, but I don't know. It makes me wonder, like, maybe they don't age while they're outside of time, so who's to say, like, how many years would have passed while they're in the TVA headquarters, where they live, where they do whatever they do, and it's only when they come into the main timeline or a branch where there's an actual flow to time for them. I don't know. It's very, it answers some questions but raises a lot more.
Maybe it could take place similar to the quantum realm, because I know people had said that the TVA was seen in the background. I think in the Ant-Man and Wasp, the last movie. So maybe that's time works so differently there, right?
Yeah, we saw Michelle Pfeiffer didn't age while she was.
That's just the surgeries.
Thank you for that. Didn't age at the same rate she should have while she was stuck in the quantum realm. So it could be same deal with the TVA, wherever they are sitting outside of time.
Well, also, Tim, like, going back to your comment about like them not being humans, quote unquote, Mobius straight up says that they're time agents, like that the timekeepers created them just for this. So maybe there's some type, especially with the reveal that we get later. I'm not wanting to spoil it, but I'm thinking that the time agents are like bamboozled to think that they are these time agents instead of what they truly are, which I know we'll get to at the end. I'm sorry. I know it's a spoiler-filled review, but I know how we like going in order. So,
well, and think about the comments that he made, how he has this fondness for jet skis, which is like seemingly random and a little bit inexplicable, but maybe that's more of a callback to whatever his former life was. And he's kind of having this glimmer of a memory of something he used to enjoy.
Could be. There's a lot. Only with 3 episodes to go. There's a lot we have to learn. Before we can move forward in the whole story where this takes place in the MCU. But continuing on with the episode, though, Sylvie enters the TVA via a portal. She walks down the hallway and uses her enchanted touch on a Minuteman that she comes upon. The touch has no effect, and the Minuteman attacks her. She fights back and disintegrates him with his own baton, and a group of 3 Minutemen come running down. She takes them out in hand-to-hand combat. Loki arrives through a portal and realizes where he is. He gets his daggers and goes looking for Sylvie, finds the unconscious Minutemen as she attacked. Sylvie then finds the elevator and knocks out the 2 Minutemen guarding it. Loki arrives, and as they prepare to fight, as Sylvie draws her sword, he says that he has a few questions, and she's asked if she's sure she's a Loki. They fight, and Loki tells Sylvie that he thought that they could work together. He tells her now that he tells her now that he sees that she lacks vision, and when he grabs her, Sylvie fights back. Loki and Sylvie stop when Ravonna and 2 more Minutemen arrive. Sylvie puts her sword to Loki's throat and tells Ravonna that she'll kill him if she comes any closer. She tells Sylvie to go for it and runs forward to attack. Sylvie uses her temp pad to create a portal beneath her and Loki, dropping them into a tent. The pad unit they use is damaged, and Sylvie grabs it first. Loki teleports behind her, knocks it out, and grabs the pad. He then uses his magic to make it disappear. So, we have her kind of like, going off like, like similar. I'm trying to remember a movie reference here, but, wondering why her power didn't work on that 1 Minuteman is kind of interesting. And do we know why her crown only has 1 horn? Did that happen in an episode so far, in the last episode, or does it? Is that the way it was when we got there? Scott, why don't you start this one?
Well, the first part with the magic not working, this proves that she hasn't been in the TVA, because we're told in episode 1 when Loki tries to use his powers that magic doesn't work there. So that means she hasn't been there before, which adds another element if she's a supposed Loki variant. So it's pretty interesting with that. And as for the horn, I thought she had 2 last episode. I'll have to go back and look. I didn't even recognize that. But that's a good catch. So it's very interesting to see what happened maybe to her second horn.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any thoughts on what happens though with her little fight with the Minutemen, and then they get portaled out with the Ravonna showing up?
With the Minutemen finding out what we find out, that I was like, why is she able to whoop these dudes' ass so quick? It's because they're not really trained. They're just, spoiler alert, that we'll find out later. But that's why it's like, she's able to whoop their ass, but it's like they're not trained fighters. They're just plucked to play these characters in this story that's being written by the Timekeepers, supposedly.
Ah, okay.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like Daredevil-esque from the Marvel show, how she kind of goes through them. That's what I was thinking of. Tim, what are your thoughts on this part of the episode?
So at the end of our last episode, the cliffhanger was Loki following her through the portal. It seemed like I don't know, I got the suggestion watching it at the time, perhaps this was by design, that she was deliberately leaving it open for him, like wanted him to follow her. But here we see that is not the case. And in a way, I was a little bit disappointed that they went the most sort of cliche route here of just having them immediately fight rather than, team up and try to get some answers. But I guess it's in keeping with that old adage of if you meet your doppelganger at any point, you have only two choices in life. You must fight them or fuck them. And as we'll see throughout the remainder of this episode, either of those scenarios threaten to play out at any moment.
Kind of. Mm-hmm. All right, Shawn, can you follow that?
I guess I was thinking about what Tim just said. Loki say, "Hey, go fuck yourself," and he literally does. So I'm sorry about that. That's what I was thinking about when Tim said that. But no, I thought no, I guess. You know what? I guess for a 6-episode series, right? So they jump right. I guess I don't mind it as much as Tim did with them immediately getting into the fight, because as we go through this episode, this is a very clear standalone episode about the relationship between supposedly these two Lokis, and I really like the relationship between them. I think they play off each other really, really well. So I didn't have a problem with the fight. I didn't have a problem with any of it, and I really liked what's her name, Ravonna. I don't always misspeak that name.
Yeah, I mispronounce it all the time.
I really like that. Hey, I'll kill him, and she's like, fuck it, go ahead, I don't care. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. I disagree with Tim in the aspect that if I only have 6 episodes to go, I know he followed her through this portal. I'm gonna get the interaction I want right at the start because I only have 3 more episodes after this one. So that's how I look at it.
All right. So back to the episode. Sylvie recovers and tells Loki that he doesn't know how to use the pad and takes offense when he calls her a Loki. As they prepare to fight, a piece of rock comes through the ceiling and hits the floor between them. They go out, and the planet they're on is Lamentis 1 in 2077. It is being hit by falling meteors. Sylvie says that Lamentis is the moon that is about to crash into the planet overhead and destroy itself. As they dodge the meteors, Sylvie says that it's the worst apocalypse and has coordinates stored on the pad. And they take cover beneath a truck. They run to a mining shaft and take shelter inside. Sylvie touches Loki's neck and uses her power. Loki wonders what she's doing and then realizes she's trying to enchant him. He says that won't work because his mind is too strong, and they both draw their blades. Loki asks if they're going to fight again and suggests that they call a truce to get the temp pad working. Sylvie says that Loki needs her to recharge the pad and figures that's why Loki helped her avoid meteors. Loki agrees, and Sylvie says that as soon as she gets the pad on, she's going back to the TVA to finish what she started. She said that there's power for the pad somewhere on the moon, and once they have it, they can travel through time and space. She goes outside, and Loki goes after her. He asks her what the plan is, and she says there's a town nearby. Loki calls Sylvie variant, and she takes offense to that and tells him not to do that. She points out that Loki went to work for the boring TVA, and Loki insists that he's just a consultant. He then points out that Sylvie's plan was to create the ultimate power vacuum and then walks away. Sylvie doesn't respond to his barb. They arrive in the town, which appears uninhabited. Sylvie tells Loki that they have about 12 hours until the moon is destroyed and things on Lamentis are only going to get worse. So, Tim, now I'm sure you guys all know Lamentis 1 from the comics, I think. So kind of tell us what Lamentis 1 for us lay people is and what the significance of it could be going forward. And the situation that they're in, where that they have to get out of.
Oh, I've got nothing, to be honest with you.
Oh.
I wasn't sure if it was created for this show or if it was kind of a pull from the comics. from what I gather, it does have kind of a comics origin, but maybe from more recent comics that I haven't read. Certainly Marvel's cosmic stable has been beefed up, built up over the past few years, and I haven't read all of that, although I would like to. So that may be a Marvel Unlimited reading project for me. But I think it's broadly similar, where it's just kind of a doomed planet. This I don't know, this whole sequence on Lamentis was a little bit strange to me, and kind of speaks to what I feel like has been a little bit of a weakness of the show, in that I don't think that our titular character, whether represented as the Loki we've all come to know and love, or this variant Loki, they collectively don't seem as resourceful as I feel like they should be. There's a lot of running around. There's a lot of running for cover, fleeing for their lives. And I get that, the planet is being bombarded with meteors, but also they're gods. So shouldn't they just kind of be able to handle this a little better? Like, they don't. It just seems like they aren't particularly better equipped for dealing with this than you or I would be.
Yeah.
And
it's like Bruce Willis and his crew, like when they had to go to the asteroid and they were avoiding all the rocks, but they weren't gods; they're real people. That's what this was like.
Yeah, the mortality of gods in the Marvel universe is kind of something that I still have trouble wrapping my head around.
And it's kind of that. It's another one of those storytelling cliches.
He's not a real god. He's a god of mischief.
Well, what it is they're extremely powerful when they're villains, right? But when you turn them face, they can't be that powerful anymore, because you always have to stack your deck against the heroes per se. And Loki is our hero in this show, we think. And I don't know, man. He seems like he should be able to draw upon maybe a deeper bench of magical abilities, seeing as he is this like millennia old god. And I don't know, I can't really, like, at a certain point you're kind of like complaining about what the show is rather than criticizing aspects of the show. And that's a little bit where I'm at right now. So I guess I'll put a pin in that.
Okay. All right, Shawn.
All right, Lamentis 1. So I did not know this, but I looked it up while you guys were talking. Tim, it first appeared in the 2007 Annihilation storyline. Yeah, it's part of the Kree-controlled space just near the edge of it. It did not play an important role in the story whatsoever. So yeah, it does exist, but in the grand scheme of comics fandom, it did not mean much in that aspect. So Andy, not much to that. Okay. So anyway, I'm kind of with Tim. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, I'm enjoying their interaction. I enjoy their little squabbling, but it's kind of like, these guys are heroes, or not heroes, but have powers. They're gods. And like I said, they're running through Lamentis like this is the asteroid from, Armageddon, and they have powers, and they're running in fear, and they're cowering. And I kind of get what Tim's saying, but I'm like holding out hope as I watch throughout this episode that this is just an end to a means of putting them in a certain spot to get us where we need to go in the long run, I guess is the way I would put it. This is kind of like the, I'm going to hate to say this. I feel like for 6 episodes, having an episode of the week kind of scenario is dangerous. And I kind of feel like that's what this episode is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a bottle episode.
Yeah, it's kind of like a placeholder episode of the week. Kind of like when we talk about comic book shows have a villain of the week, like The Flash, which is so terrible at this point because of it. I don't like that in a 6-episode series, so I get why they do it. I just hope the next 3 episodes have a lot of meat to it and don't have a lot of this standalone kind of feeling, I guess.
Remember when I yelled at you guys for insinuating that certain episodes of The Mandalorian felt a little bit? I'm going to say this episode felt a little padded.
Yeah.
With The Mandalorian, I'm more forgiving of that because I think the premise of that show is more set up to allow for episodic storytelling every now and then, not every episode, but you could do kind of an adventure of the week here and there with a show like that. with this, I mean, it's just a 6-episode series. It feels like it should have more of a straight through line, right?
You'll never convince me Frog Lady wasn't an episode of the week. You'll never convince me.
God, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's okay. I think I'm more forgiving of it there because it's still kind of a cool, fun adventure in this exotic world. And I just think The Mandalorian is set up to do that type of thing. I don't think that Loki, by design, as it's been presented to us, is designed really for episodic stories. It's really designed more for serialized storytelling. And here again, I'm more complaining about what the show is at this point.
Well, no, you're right. But Mandalorian has more episodes on the back end too, so I get it. So,
yeah. And it's just like, it's not to say nothing happened in this episode, but it was, let's say, decompressed. There's a comic.
It was a lot of, and we're not at the end. And we talk about spoil. It's a lot of hitting walls and stopping. Like it's hit wall, and nothing really. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying.
All right. Scott, your thoughts on this part?
I know this may feel like a bottle episode, but I have a theory that I've been running with ever since I saw this the first time as I'm rewatching it. It leads to
Shifflett.com. What's the theory?
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door at comicbook.com. But so they mentioned like Sylvie tries to like use her power and touch his neck, and he's like his mind is too strong for that. And then she, later on, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, says like, she has to like get to know the person with stronger minds more to manipulate them. And I think he's being manipulated right now. They've never left. They're still in the TVA. That's what I think. Is she's using him right now to get whatever she wants. So that's what I think this is. But if it's not, I'm finally, because last episode I was complaining that they have all these worlds to visit and they're stuck on Earth, and they finally went somewhere else. So I'm gonna call it a push if I'm wrong about the other thing, because I'm happy they left Earth. But that's where I think it's going, because like that's a little tidbit, like they wouldn't add in there, I don't think, unless it was nothing. Or I'm like overreaching like I did with WandaVision again. But
that's not a bad theory, actually. I mean, it would make total sense if that were the case.
Especially with what happens at the very end. That's what I originally thought. I was like, and like, because she's trying to get something out of him that only he has. This variant of Loki has.
That's not a bad theory, Scott.
Thank you.
I'm not sure how I would feel about it, but I agree.
Yeah.
I could totally see that happening. So you heard it here first on Scott.Shifflett.
All right. So back to the episode. The pair find a lit sign on a building. Sylvie tells Loki to hand over the pad. He tells her that he's not giving it to her, and she'll have to try harder. Sylvie tells him that they'll need a large power source. They leave the town and come to a house, and Sylvie draws her sword, kicks in the front door. The woman inside shoots Sylvie with a blaster, knocking her back on the ground. Loki yells an apology, and the woman says that she enjoyed shooting Sylvie. He says that he did as well, and that they mean the woman no harm. The woman doesn't believe him. Loki looks and sees a photo of the woman and her husband, Patrice, and uses his magic to take on her husband's appearance. Loki steps out and tells the woman that she's as beautiful ever, and the woman shoots him back with the blaster. The woman yells that Patrice never said that nice in 30 years, comes out and asks what they want with her. Sylvie asks where everyone is, and the woman, homesteader, says that they're at the evacuation vessel. The female Loki figures that the vessel would have enough energy to power the pad, and tells them that at the train station at the end of town, but they'll never get a ticket. Sylvie heads there, and Loki follows her. So this is a little quick thing, Sean. What did you think of this woman basically just staying back in the homestead and just like sitting there with a blaster ready to go?
Well, I mean, she was just she obviously didn't want to go anywhere, and she was protected her home. I guess the first question I had, and I wasn't sure, this woman wasn't like one of those like spot guest stars that are really relevant to anything. She's not a famous person or anything, right?
I don't think so.
All right, I didn't think so either. I was wondering.
She's Skrull.
We're in Skrull land, so it might be.
Well, I didn't know if it was a Skrull. I mean, it's like someone famous that was doing like a cameo type things. I had no idea who this. It seemed very random. I don't understand. I guess for me, they just added this to it. It was kind of a good comedy spot, but why couldn't they have just made their way to the town where they initially? Why didn't they just skip this scene? Did they really need this scene? I guess they did. They find out about the train, but I figured they could have just walked and probably found it the same way they did later. But it's a nice little comedy spot just to kind of have a good-hearted nature kind of thing. And kind of show that both Lokis are somewhat buffoons, like the normal Loki is. I mean, that's all I'll say about that.
All right, Scott.
I agree. I thought it was a fun scene, and it also shows that both of their ways that they normally go weren't going to work with this lady. I guess like just to show that like you can't go through with brute force or trying to be conniving. I don't know if that's going to say anything, but that's just how I felt with it.
Tim?
I guess the cynical answer to Sean's question, why did this have to be here, is to pad out this episode, which is already like the shortest episode of the series we've seen to date. So it's just sort of a slapstick moment that they throw in there. I don't know. It's inoffensive. It's kind of funny, but again, I'm not so sure how I feel about making our lead / co-leads at this point look this buffoonish, but that is sort of what the character has evolved into, I suppose.
I agree with you. It's like he can never do anything right. They even say that when they're going through his little timeline in the first episode. He's a loser, and he continues to be a loser. And at some point he's got to win, or you just lose interest.
Well, yeah, and part of me thinks that this is all very deliberate because they're winding us up for something big, like in the finale where he's going to essentially play the ace up his sleeve and say, this was all my plan all along, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which would be a nice way to redeem it. But yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle for me right now through some of these bits. Do the people of this planet know? Does everyone know that the planet is like about to be completely annihilated? I mean, I know there's the train, people are evacuating, but I mean, do they understand the gravity of this?
Well, the train is clearly, I mean, we're going to get to it, but I mean, the train's clearly for the planet rich, right?
Yeah. So it's like they seem to know, but I don't know that everyone necessarily knows the degree. I mean, obviously they know they're getting pummeled by rocks from the sky, but does that necessarily mean the entire planet's about to come apart?
I mean, I'd shit myself. But.
Yeah, well.
Like, some people could be like that woman, like, I'm not going to stress out my last moments. I'm just going to... the chance of me getting off this rock is slim to none, so I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the view.
I just think maybe some information is being withheld by, the riffraff, the commoners of this planet, much the same way it's being withheld from us, the viewers.
Could be. I mean, it also seems like we've gone from a buddy cop situation with Loki and Mobius to Loki and Sylvie now, sort of. I think.
Yeah.
So, all right. So back to the episode. At the station, people are lined up waiting for a ticket to evacuate on the train. Loki and Sylvie arrive. Sylvie tells Loki that she's going to have to enchant a guard, have him lead them through the crowd, and then have him just shoot anyone that interferes. Loki says that they're doing it his way and uses an illusion to don himself in a guard's uniform. He then takes Sylvie to the guard post, treating her like a prisoner. The guard lets them through, but then the next guard stops and asks them for their ticket. When Loki's attempt to bluff fails, Sylvie touches the guard and enchants him, and under his control, he tells a superior to coming over to that headquarters, radioed over a request for Loki and Sylvie that morning. The two guards let them through, and they sit down in a booth in the dining car. Sylvie argues that Loki didn't have a plan, and when she yawns, she says that she can't sleep around untrustworthy people. They then talk about Loki's mother, Frigga, and he says that she taught him magic. Sylvie asks what Frigga was like, and Loki says that she was a good, decent, and queen of Asgard. Loki admits that he was adopted, and asked about Loki's mother. Sylvie then says that she barely remembers her, and Loki reminisces about his childhood with Frigga. Loki then demonstrates some of his magic for Sylvie, conjuring miniature fireworks. He says that Frigga was the kind of person he wanted someone to believe in him, and finally says that Frigga is dead. Loki asks where Sylvie learned to enchant people. She said that she taught herself. He refuses her to let her demonstrate on him. A waitress comes over, offers him champagne. After taking both glasses, Loki offers a toast to the end of the world and drinks. Sylvie brings up the subject of love and asks if she had someone, and they both admit that they've never had anything real. Loki says that love is something. He might have to have another drink to think about it. Sylvie warns him that hijacking a civilization power source isn't going to be easy and they should rest. Loki tells her that he'll rest his way. All right, so a lot of back and forth here between Loki and Sylvie. Scott, what do you make of this scene?
Yeah, this leads credence to what I was saying earlier. Like, she's getting to know him more, and like she learns about Frigga, and like he opens up that he missed, like, you know, he basically says that he misses her, and like she was a good mom and taught him all this magic. Um, you know, we learn a little bit about Sylvie's life, because if she's truly a Loki, like, you know, this is a completely different Loki, which we had seen the different variant Lokis before, but learning, like, you know, she was basically raised on her own, doesn't remember her mom, not any type of royalty or anything. Basically, I guess the Ice Giants won, and, you know, she was like, or like, you know, they never went to war with Asgard, and like that's why she was raised on her own, because that's supposedly what she is. You know, I like seeing the magic, you know, and then that was cool, but like, and then the love part comes up, and like, you know, this is where Loki comes out that, you know, he's, you know, bisexual, which, you know, was pretty big for the Marvel universe to have that happen in 2021. Well, I know in the comics he's banged animals and everything because he has like a centaur son. Because I'm reading.
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
true.
He does. Like,
that was so like, wow.
I'm like, I mean, it's like big for the MCU, but in the comics, like, it's been well known, is what I was trying to get at. I probably could have
I
done
was
a little
laughing
better
at
with
the goof of a comment. There was none. Anyway, go ahead.
No, that's it. I lost my train of thought.
How do you really couch the whole turning into a mare to get banged by a steed and giving birth to an 8-legged horse?
I don't know.
You can't really couch that in a lot of niceties, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, it's
to say the least.
I'm sorry, Scott. I wasn't laughing at what you said. It was just the way it came out.
I know. I can't catch a break.
I mean, it happened.
I mean, yeah, because I'm reading Avengers Disassembled, and Thor went against Loki's, you know, technically his nephew, which is like a damn centaur. So I was like, what the shit, man? But yeah.
Odin used to ride around on his grandson, basically.
Oh, jeez.
It was just transportation for him.
Poor Andy's like, what's going on? I'm so lost.
I am, but you know what? I'm enjoying the ride. As
Mythology is wild.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tim, what's your make of this scene between these two?
Well, it's sort of like, this is why the episode exists. I mean, yes, it's padded, not a great deal is accomplished, but we get these character moments, and we get some decent character interaction between these two who are kind of opposite sides of the same coin. In a way, I kind of question how valuable these sorts of conversations really were. It's just, I don't know, they're talking about love and family, and it's all very well intentioned, I guess. But again, in the back of my mind, I'm just sort of questioning, would this really be Loki's would this really be his approach? You know, you got to figure he's trying to learn as much as possible about this person who, you know, in some ways should share a lot of similarities with him. But this is kind of the tact that he takes. It's just, I don't know, it felt a little forced. We do get the kind of confirmation, I guess, that Loki has loved or lusted women as well as men. So progress is progress. I guess that's nice. I do, again, a little bit cynically question, I mean, if this character is going to be as sexless as everyone else in the MCU, then it sort of doesn't matter, right? Tony Stark is kind of the only character who's allowed to get any action, it seems like, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Arguably Cap, but everyone else is like borderline asexual, it feels like. So I don't know. Like, I guess I appreciate that it's there, but it would be nice to see that maybe explored at some point in the future. And I don't know. I have my doubts maybe that they will.
All right. Shawn?
I like the way they got on the train. Loki's way, the way he did it, and he actually did something right for a change. Yeah, kind of like with Tim, where they just build the characters out in terms of getting to know each other, feeling each other out, telling their stories. And yeah, it's like Loki really liked that. And is that the approach he's going to take with this variant? That he has no idea what she's going. We still don't know what her long-term plan is, right? So who knows? She could still be evil. She couldn't be. Who knows? But they seem to be getting along awfully fine, considering they were fighting each other and wanting to kill each other earlier. I will say the bisexual reveal. I'm kind of like with Tim. Is it going to play out, or was it something that everybody knows that Loki is gender neutral? That's a thing in the comics, so we're just going to drop this in just for the sake of dropping it in, versus it really making a difference of anything. Because if they just dropped it in to drop it in for the sake of dropping it in, it's worthless unless it plays out in some form or fashion long term. Because it's kind of like I watch like all the American Horror Stories and like in all those stories are always, and I have no problem with this, but it almost seems like they just throw these characters in that are bisexual or whatever, but nothing ever really plays out to what their character is. And it's like, did they just do that for the sake of doing it, or is there something meaningful to it, which would be great? So I'm kind of like with Tim on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, he also infers that she's the same way as he is.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Both of them.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so the train leaves and Sylvie dozes off. She wakes up to find Loki leading a song, and he switches over to a slower song and looks pensive. Loki switches back to the livelier one. He then offers a toast to Sylvie. She goes over, figures Loki is drunk, and asks where his illusionary uniform is. She reminds him that they're supposed to be laying low, and he says that she saw people looking weirdly at him. Loki says that as an answer to her earlier question, conjures an illusion of a dagger, and says that love is like it. Excuse me for a second. Sylvie then tells him that it's a horrible metaphor, and he makes the illusion disappear. A man who is left comes back with guards, and the man points out Loki. One of the guards from the gate. Sorry, something caught my throat.
Bless you.
I apologize to the listeners.
Couldn't tell if it was a sneeze or cough, so
it was a cough, but
I was hedging my bets there.
God damn it, pal! There's no season or coughing on these podcasts.
Come on, son.
God. I should be better than that.
Let's play some football. All right, so one of the guards from the gate demands to see the couple's tickets, and Loki conjures fireworks. The guards aren't impressed, and Loki fights back when they try to lead him away. Sylvie joins the fight, and Loki throws his dagger at a guard who grabs Sylvie and misses the guard and almost hits her. Another guard attacks Loki, who kicks the guard out of the window. Sylvie breaks free as two more guards grab Loki and throw him out the window. She jumps out the window to get the temp pad. Loki gets up and finds Sylvie where she jumped off the train. She gets up, draws her sword, and tells Loki to give her the temp pad. He conjures it to his hand, and they discover that it's broken and figures that they can fix it. Loki drops the pieces on the ground, and Sylvie tells him that he's a clown. She says that she's hedonistic more than Loki, but never at the expense of the mission. Loki tells her that her mission is doomed and she can't beat the TVA. She storms off and screams in rage and then sits down. Loki comes over and sits down next to her, asks if her scream made her feel better. She said that it did, and Loki should try it sometime. He asks what they should do. She points out that Loki broke the temp pad and the plane is about to crash into Lamentis. Sylvie explains that the evacuation arc is destroyed because it never leaves, and Loki points out that it never had them on it. They agree to hijack it and get off Lamentis before it's destroyed. So I really dug this scene, and I'm telling you, Shawn has his train, Sylvie's on my train now. So, a little cute blonde with a sexy accent. I'm done. I'm there. Tim, what'd you make of this part, though? We expected somebody to go no ticket like in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, really, just about. I mean, that is what it's pretty reminiscent of. This was all quite foolish, really, on Loki's part, and I know I'm sounding like sort of bitchy for kind of the second episode in a row. So I guess spoiler alert, I wasn't crazy about this one either. But I think maybe I'm a little bit down on just the zaniness of it all. I don't know that I wanted so much of that. It almost feels like a sitcom, this particular episode. And I'm like, kind of already did that with WandaVision. Not that, these shows can't be sitcoms, but I don't know. overall, it just didn't sit right. I'm not feeling it between these. I definitely like. I'm sorry, I don't know the actress's name who plays Sylvie. I like her performance, but I don't think I really am enjoying the writing and the banter between these two. And I didn't think his analogy was that bad about love being a dagger.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Fuck you. It works.
Yeah, and the actress's name is Sophie DiMartino. The only thing that I've heard of that she's been in was Yesterday's. She's mostly done British film and television work, but she was also in. I don't know if any of you guys saw that Boss Bitch Fight video that went around.
Boss Bitch Fight
that Zoe Bell kind of put together. It was in the height of the pandemic about a year ago, where a bunch of actresses did this thing where like they would fight and like kind of like pick up where the last one was, like, you know how that became like a thing where people like throw microphones to each other. They did one that was like a fight. So she actually
right.
In that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That feels like 100,000 years ago.
I know. But all right. So Shawn, what do you think of this part when they act up on the train and get thrown out?
Yeah, Tim picking up the Shawn mantle is shitting on everything. I didn't hate this. I thought the Loki getting drunk and singing that song was on brand for Loki. Because he's a big goofball. He likes to drink and he likes to be merry and have a good time. And the song cracked me up. I liked it quite a bit, even though it was very repetitive. I thought it was very funny. The fight was okay. Them getting thrown off the train makes sense. The getting disintegrated and being ruined, that makes sense. But it's kind of like what I said earlier. It's like you hit a wall after wall after wall. You come to this planet, it's falling apart. You go to this woman's house, you hit a wall there. You go on a train, you think everything's going good. Loki gets drunk, they get thrown off. Now their time device is broken. You've hit another wall. So now we've hit 2 or 3 walls this episode, and that's not even the biggest wall they're going to hit tonight. So it's just kind of a lot of stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. But I did not hate this scene. I thought it was pretty funny, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Scott?
We needed some action in this episode because it's been a lot of exposition and talking. So we got that finally. I'm a little shocked that Loki was able to get his ass handed to him so quickly, but as Mobius said, Loki is always destined to fail.
At his root, Loki is a big fat pussy, just for the record.
Yeah, he's always getting his ass whooped. And, Sylvie,
But not when he's a villain, not when he's a real villain.
Yeah.
Then he's teleporting eyeballs out and stomping people into the dirt and blasting people with scepters, and
That's why heels always get the heat, Tim.
Mm-hmm. A little bit annoying, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we got. It's what we got to do, sadly. But yeah, it's it's just a little like frustrating, like how easy he was able to get his ass whooped, and then we jump out, and I thought he was going to be lying with the pad being destroyed, but obviously it's not the case. So it's interesting to see how they'll see if they can get off of this planet.
I will say one thing I'll add to that is it is their relationship and how fast it's progressed is pretty annoying, because now they're almost coddling each other and it'll be okay. But that I'll give Tim that part is kind of annoying.
I guess Loki's got to stick together, right?
Yes.
All right.
Well, Shawn, sorry.
That's okay.
Shawn brought up an interesting point about how they're constantly hitting walls. And in thinking about it and hearing just sort of the examples just back to back to back like that, it almost is playing out sort of like dream logic, where, when you're trying to accomplish something in a dream and like you can't, it's like you can't get to your destination, or you're constantly being sabotaged somehow.
Sabotage.
So that may speak to...
It's kind of like if you're dying in a dream.
What was that?
Kind of like... I don't know. It's pretty sexy, though.
I'm
I guess
sorry.
Like, Tim, when you dream like you're about to die and you wake up before you die kind of scenario, right?
Yeah, well, and I'm just wondering if maybe that lends credence to Scott's theory that, I mean, it's not a dream, but it is all in his head, because Sylvie is trying to, get some information out of him. And this is the elaborate scenario that has been concocted, and they literally can't accomplish their goal because there isn't really a goal. It's all just, it's all just smoke and mirrors.
Man, we go deep on this show, man. Fuck that comicbook.com.
That's right.
That's right. Amen.
Amen. Awesome.
And the way that they keep fucking up is largely due to Loki's self-sabotaging ways. And that in and of itself could be revealing his character to her, and she's learning what kind of person he is in the process of trying to get at some deeper information.
God damn, Tim.
You know,
you and Scott are bringing it tonight. I'm impressed.
Landed the plane.
I got the Lady Loki guess. You guys are bringing the rest of the goods. That's awesome. I'm all in.
Yes, sir.
Can't ride that the whole series though, Shawn.
No,
Okay.
I wasn't on the last episode. I can only ride it tonight, but I won't. Now I got to come up with a new freaking bullshit thing like these two just did it.
That's what we do here on Pop Goes the Couch. Come up with, bring the bullshit. All right. So Loki and Sylvie walk along the train tracks, and Loki tries to get Sylvie to explain her powers. She refuses, and Loki tries to find out more about her. Sylvie says that she wants to use her secrets as tactical advantages, and Loki says that he just needs to know that he can trust her. Convinced, Sylvie explains that she needs to make a physical contact and has problems with stronger minds. She creates a connection by creating a fantasy illusion from their memories.
Ding, 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 ding.
Sylvie says that C20's mind was so strong that she had to pull a memory from before she joined the TVA. When Loki wonders what that means, Sylvie explains that C20 used to be a regular person on Earth. Loki points out that he was told all the TVA workers were created. Sylvie explains that all the workers are variants. Before Loki can pursue the matter, the duo arrive at the city. They spot the Ark ahead of the crowd, and Sylvie figures that they'll get to the Ark by going around rioters in the streets. Meteors start to run down heavily. They go into a bar and fighting off rioters, then continue on the streets. They approach the Ark, and it's destroyed by debris. Sylvie walks away with her head down, leaving Loki just standing there. So that's how the episode ends. Shawn, what do you think of this closeout?
So one of the things I don't remember we were talking about in episode 1 was the time TVA wasn't what they appeared to be, and I think someone made a comment that, you know, we're supposed to believe that this variant Loki is the villain when in fact the TVA is not what they say they are, and now we found out they're not. So I think we all believe that was kind of the case, and that's kind of a big reveal. I'd say that's probably the biggest reveal of this whole episode tonight, more so than the bisexual thing, because this at least has relevance to where the plot's going. And then again, hitting another wall where they get to the Ark and it explodes. So I really give Scott and Tim credit, because I don't necessarily think what they're saying is out of whack or out of line. And there's a good shot. This is all playing out in Loki's head or some kind of form of his head, and this is her kind of feeling him out on her end. So yeah, good stuff, guys. And so we kind of end with this this little cliffhanger of, oh shit, they're stuck on this planet. Where do they go from here? And then they'll probably open the next episode with them coming, where she's got her hand on his head and just learning all this through possession of him. But who knows? At least it leaves on a good cliffhanger of, oh shit, where do they go from here?
Mm-hmm. Scott, what are your thoughts?
As I was saying, like I interrupted you when you were saying with like the ding, 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 because that's when she says she needs more of a connection right there, more than a physical connection. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing. She's feeling him out, as Shawn was saying. And then when we get the big reveal, which we hinted at the beginning with TVA is humans and they're variants at that matter. So it's like, instead of these variants being murdered, besides the one that wouldn't take his deli ticket in the first episode, they're just turned into agents. So that's something very interesting. And, with Tim, what Tim was talking about, that leads even more credence, because when they do the big fight at the end, it's just the agents attacking them. Like, why would the agents just be attacking them? Everyone's rioting. But they're taking on these agents. So it's like these walls, like Shawn and Tim were saying, are just being thrown like as these obstacles. And I know it's the TV show about them, but I think Marvel's too smart for that. And I'm like, because they've done a very good job. They have 10 years of goodwill. So that's why I'm trying to say, Marvel's smarter than what they're trying to appear with, just like a basic, I loved it, but like a Lost episode, something like that.
All right. Tim?
I might be back in now if Scott's grand unified theory proves to be true. I think I'm getting attached to it, and I'm going to need that.
I apologize if it fails. I apologize.
I can't wait for us to be wrong next
You know
week.
what? But if you're not, even better. But if you listen, I think either way it plays out and it makes total sense, and I give you guys total props for it tonight. So
kind of want them to do that now. It'll help. I don't know. It'll help solve some of these problems that I've been having along the way here. I would I would dig that. I mean, it's sort of, it could be seen as a cop out to some extent, but it's also, I think it would just be earned. I think that they could pull it off. Not much else more to add here. They sure have stacked the deck against our heroes now, and I want to say I even read somewhere that the little sequence where there was like a pillar about to fall on them, and Loki like pushes it back. Somebody out there is saying that that's because he has the time stone and reverse time, and to me, I just thought he was using his powers, telekinesis or something. But I don't know. Maybe there's something there. I don't want to speculate too much on that very minor bit.
Do you think he might have pocketed a couple Infinity Stones?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's sort of a mild theory going around, I think. That I don't know that I buy. I just wanted to throw it out there. So yeah, we get kind of a cool unbroken single camera shot. Decently choreographed action scene at the end here, but Daredevil, this is not, I mean, it's fine, but I don't know if that was as impressive as they sort of hoped it would be.
They drew it up.
Yeah.
No, it was, I liked it. It was fun, but yeah, it's not Daredevil taking out a bunch of guys in like a stairwell. No. All right, so we're halfway through the series. What do you guys want to see? What do you think we'll see? What do you think was going to happen in episode 4? And by the time we get to the end, Scott, start with you.
Okay, I'm gonna lead off. If like Mobius in the first 5 minutes saves both of them, I'm gonna be really pissed off. So that's gonna really upset me next week. I don't really know where they're going because I didn't think we would see Sylvie until like episode 4 or 5. So I don't really know where they're gonna go with these last 3 episodes. Hopefully, we see the timekeepers, which I guess are real. So I might have been wrong on that. I didn't think they were real at first with how Ravonna was acting, but I want to see some answers. But I think I did hear that they said Loki is the only show that they could do multiple seasons of, so that's very interesting. Just something for us to keep in mind. But I want to see more of Mobius as well, because it seems like he's been neglected the past 2 episodes.
Okay. Tim.
Yep. They don't have to give us our wish fulfillment fan theory. They don't have to go that it was all a dream route. But if they don't do that, they do have to do something more interesting than Deus Ex Mobius to the rescue. That ain't gonna cut it. I agree with Scott. That would be super lame. Beyond that, I want to see some more forward momentum. I want to see the pace pick up a little bit here. It's kind of been dragging. Not that this has been a slog or the worst show or anything, but it's just sort of it's just kind of there. Doesn't have a lot of urgency to it for me. And I would like to see that turn around in the back half here.
All right. Shawn. Are you muted? Yes, you are.
I was muted. Sorry about that.
Got sucked
if it was only that
stream.
Easy in real life.
Yeah, God, man. God forbid I ever do a live stream. I kind of it's got to pick up, like Tim said. We have 3 episodes left. This was the placeholder. I do like the theories tonight around the stop, go, and this is all part of Sylvie and what she's doing to Loki. So that would make total sense. But the other thing that's interesting to me is the TVA. So I guess it's not, these folks that are into TVA aren't necessarily evil. At least some of them aren't. Their soldiers aren't. But it brings up questions around maybe the top level ones that we've seen, what's his name? Morpheus. What's that? His name? Morpheus.
Mobius.
Sorry, I can't pronounce any of this shit. And then the other one, Ramona or whatever. I can't pronounce. Yeah, Ramona, whatever her name is. So maybe there's something there with those two. Maybe they aren't variants, and then the rest of them are. I don't know. I'm curious to see what the TVA actually is and how that plays out with the timekeepers. But yeah, I really definitely hope that this picks up the last 3 episodes because I did enjoy parts of this episode, but it definitely was kind of like an episode of the week.
We don't even know, like, to say that there's 3 episodes left. Normally, with one of these shows, we'd be saying there's a lot that they have to accomplish in these next 3 episodes.
But there's really not.
I can't even say that because I don't know what they're trying to accomplish at this point.
Well, we don't know her endgame either. Like,
we don't know what her endgame is. Yeah, we know that the show is about pursuing this variant Loki, and we've done that, but we've also kind of swerved because we spent quite a bit of time with her in this episode, but we're no closer to understanding what her goals really are beyond she seems to want to tear down the TVA, all right, but maybe why and how? So I'm a little, I don't know. I'm not sure if I should be rubbed the wrong way by that, or if it's just maybe just go with it and see where we go.
It's not like WandaVision where like, God, they only have like 1 or 2 episodes to wrap this up. This one, it feels like, okay, well, where are we going? We got 3 episodes left.
My
I feel
hands
like
are
we could
just up in the air.
We could kind of, it's like, the feeling is, they could wrap this up in 3 episodes versus WandaVision where it's like, how are they going to do this in 2 episodes? You know?
I mean, they could wrap it up in 1 episode for all I know. I just don't know where they're going or what to think.
Yeah, I'm kind of like at the point where I'm like, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy right now? Is she like an anti-hero now? Like I don't kind of understand.
I don't think she's the bad guy.
No.
I'm gonna lay that out right away. She's not the bad guy.
That is correct. I don't think she's the bad guy either.
No, but who is? So,
Time.
Time.
In every way.
Mephisto.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll break your arm, you say, Mephisto. All right, well, lots of great stuff we unpacked for this episode, but there will be more, and we'll be back next week to break down episode 4 for Shawn Kidd, Scott Shifflett, and Tim Capel. I am Andy Atherton. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pop Goes the Couch, Loki. We'll see you on episode 4 next week. Take care.